She is still breathing, unfortunately. I heard my father say those words to the doctor while standing over my hospital bed. He did not sound sad. He sounded annoyed. She told me once, "Dad, if I am ever a vegetable, just let me go." He lied smoothly to the doctor. I am her next of kin. Stop prolonging this. I lay there in a coma, unable to move a finger or open my eyes, forced to listen to the pen scratch against the paper as he signed the order to turn off my life support. Then he leaned down, his breath hot against my ear. "It is nothing personal, Clara," he whispered. "It is just business. You are worth more dead than alive." Before I tell you what he did next and the mistake that cost him everything, tell me in the comments. Have you ever trusted someone with your life only to realize they were holding the knife? I read every story. The door clicked shut, sealing the room in a heavy, artificial silence. The only sound was the rhythmic hiss-click of the ventilator pushing air into my lungs. Panic is a cold thing when you cannot move. It started in my chest, a scream building in my throat that I physically could not release. I tried to thrash, to open my eyes, to tear the tubes out, but my body was a heavy stone casing. I was locked in, awake, aware, and utterly paralyzed. But my mind was working at high velocity. My name is Clara Sterling. I am 32 years old and I do not hunt criminals with a badge. I hunt them with spreadsheets. As a forensic auditor, I have spent the last decade tracking dirty money through shell companies and hidden offshore accounts. I know how to sit in a room full of liars and spot the one person sweating too much. I know how to listen to what is not being said. And right now I was on the most important stakeout of my life. I heard the scuff of expensive leather shoes on the linoleum. My father had not left. He was pacing. The performance of the grieving parent had vanished the second the doctor walked out. "Pick up," he hissed. The sound of a call connecting. "It is me. I am at the hospital." Pause. Then his voice dropped, tight with a desperation that vibrated through the bed frame. "I know what I said, Marco. You will have it. Monday. Yes, all of it. $850,000. He was walking closer. I could smell his cologne, sandalwood and stale scotch. "The situation has resolved itself," he said into the phone. "The doctor just signed the paperwork. It is a matter of hours. The insurance payout is immediate upon certification of death." I checked the policy. He laughed then. It was not a happy sound. It was the sound of a man who had just dodged a bullet by pulling someone else in front of it. "Yeah, Rebecca is waiting in the car. She is keeping the engine running in case I need a quick exit. He knows the plan. Just give me until Monday." He hung up. The room went quiet again. I felt his presence looming over the bed. He was not holding my hand. He was not saying goodbye. He was tapping his finger against the plastic railing of the bed, a nervous, rhythmic tap-tap-tap. He was doing the math. Most people think evil is passionate, a crime of heat and rage. But I know better. True evil is cold. It is a calculation. To a normal father, a daughter in a coma is a tragedy. To a narcissist like Donald Sterling, I was just a ledger entry that had fallen into the red. I could almost see the equation running through his head. On one side, the cost of keeping me alive. The experimental neurosurgery I needed would cost $150,000. Long-term care? Thousands more a month. I was a liability. A depreciating asset draining his resources. On the other side, my life insurance and the property deeds he thought he could access. $2.5 million. Liquid capital. Immediate solvency. The math was simple. As long as my heart was beating, I was an expense he could not afford. But dead? I was the solution to all his problems. I was the check that would clear his gambling debts and keep his knees intact. He sighed, a long, impatient exhale. "Hurry up, Clara," he muttered to the beeping monitor. "I do not have all day." He thought I was helpless. He thought I was already gone. But he forgot who he raised. I was not just a victim lying in a bed. I was a vault of evidence, and he had just given me the combination. I focused on the darkness behind my eyelids. I did not need to move to fight him. I just needed to wait. Because sooner or later, every criminal makes a mistake in the paperwork. The door opened again. It was Dr. Evans. He did not look like a doctor anymore. He looked like an executioner who hated his job. He was carrying a tray, the extubation kit. He moved to the side of the bed, checking the monitors with a heavy sigh. My father stood up, smoothing his suit jacket, ready to watch the show. "It is time," Dr. Evans said quietly. "We will turn off the ventilator first. It should be peaceful." Peaceful. Suffocating to death while your father checks his watch is many things, but peaceful is not one of them. Panic flared again, but I shoved it down. Panic consumes oxygen. I needed focus. I needed one single movement. I concentrated every ounce of my will, every spark of electricity in my brain on my eyelids. They felt like lead weights welded shut. I screamed in my head. Look at him. Dr. Evans leaned over me, shining a penlight into my right eye. Pupils are sluggish, he muttered. He moved to the left eye. No. I did not just open them. I fought the paralysis with everything I had. I locked my gaze onto his. I did not look past him the way a comatose patient does. I looked at him. And then I blinked. 1, 2, 3. Rapid, deliberate blinks. The distress code. Dr. Evans froze. His hand holding the penlight stopped in midair. He leaned closer, his breath hitching. Clara, he whispered. Can you hear me? I blinked again. Once for yes. What is happening? Donald's voice cut through the air, sharp and agitated. He stepped forward, trying to block the doctor's line of sight. Is it a seizure? Just reflexes, right? Dr. Evans straightened up, turning to face my father. The look on the doctor's face was not professional detachment anymore. It was suspicion. That was not a reflex, Mr. Sterling. She tracked the light. She responded to a verbal command. You are imagining things, Donald snapped, his mask slipping. She is gone. You said so yourself. Let us just get this over with. I cannot, Dr. Evans said, his voice hardening. The do not resuscitate order is predicated on the diagnosis of a persistent vegetative state. If she is responsive even minimally, the order is void. I cannot legally withdraw support. The silence in the room was thick enough to choke on. I watched my father's face. For a split second I saw the raw, naked rage. He looked like he wanted to grab the scalpel from the tray and finish the job himself. Then the mask slammed back into place. Oh, thank God, he cried out, his voice cracking with a performance worthy of an award. He grabbed the doctor's hand, shaking it aggressively. It is a miracle. My little girl is still in there. She is, Dr. Evans said, pulling his hand away. He did not buy it. I could see it in his eyes. He knew something was wrong. I need to run more tests. We are keeping her on the ventilator for now. I am upgrading her status to critical but responsive. Of course, Donald said, wiping a fake tear. Whatever she needs. But as Dr. Evans turned to log the data into the computer, my father looked back at me. His eyes were cold, dead sharks. He knows, I thought. And he is terrified. In that moment I wanted to scream. I wanted to thrash and point a finger at him and tell the doctor everything. But my training kicked in. In forensic auditing there is a golden rule. When the target is making mistakes, do not interrupt him. If I showed him I was fully recovered, if I started communicating, he would panic. A desperate man is unpredictable. He might flee. He might lawyer up and hide the assets before I could find them. Or worse, he might try something violent right here, right now. But if I stayed quiet, if I let him think I was just a flickering candle that could be easily blown out, he would get arrogant. He would think he still had a chance to fix this problem. I looked at my father one last time, let my eyelids droop and let my face go slack. I retreated back into the mask of the coma. I saw his shoulders relax. He thought he still had the upper hand. He thought I was weak. He did not know that silence is the loudest alarm you can trigger. I was not helpless anymore. I was lying in wait. And I was going to let him dig his own grave. Nathaniel walked in 20 minutes later. He did not look like a lawyer who billed $500 an hour. He looked like a shark in a tailored suit who had just smelled blood in the water. My father was sitting in the corner, scrolling through his phone, looking bored. Mr. Sterling, Nathaniel said, his voice smooth and professional. I heard the news. Miraculous. She is still a vegetable, Donald grunted, not looking up. Just a breathing one now. What do you want, Nathaniel? I thought you handled her taxes, not her medical charts. I do, Nathaniel said. And that is actually why I am here. We have a complication with the estate. A financial one. I need to review some files with her, even if she cannot respond. Protocol. He looked at my father pointedly. Privileged attorney-client confidentiality. I need the room. Donald rolled his eyes and stood up. Knock yourself out. She's not going to tell you much. I am going to get coffee. As soon as the door clicked shut, Nathaniel's demeanor shifted instantly. He dropped his briefcase and moved to the side of the bed, his face inches from mine. Clara, he whispered. If you are in there, give me a sign. Evans said you tracked the light. I blinked. Once. Hard. Nathaniel let out a breath he must have been holding since he got the call. Hey. Good. We do not have much time. I ran the background check on your father's recent activity like you asked me to before the accident. It is bad, Claire. He owes $850,000 to the Valenti syndicate. The deadline is Monday. If he does not pay, they are not going to sue him. They are going to bury him. I blinked again. I know. He needs liquid capital, Nathaniel continued, his mind working as fast as mine. He signed the DNR to trigger the life insurance. Now that you are alive, that payout is blocked. He is desperate. And desperate men are stupid. He pulled a notepad out of his pocket. We stick to the poison pill contingency we discussed last year? The asset trap. I blinked once. Yes. I am going to tell him your assets are frozen by the IRS. I am going to tell him the only way to unlock the insurance payout immediately, without waiting for probate or medical review, is for a guardian to assume liability for the estate. He thinks he is signing to control the assets. He will actually be signing to personally guarantee your debts. He paused, looking at me with intense seriousness. I have inflated the shell company debts, Clara. I backdated the liens. If he signs that affidavit of guardianship, he does not just inherit your house. He inherits a $3 million tax bill and a fraud investigation. It will bankrupt him. It will destroy everything he has left. Is that what you want? I did not hesitate. I did not think about the father who used to carry me on his shoulders. I thought about the man who tapped his finger on my bed rail, waiting for me to die. I blinked once. Nathaniel nodded. He stood up, smoothed his tie, and opened the door. He left it cracked just enough for me to hear. My father was coming back down the hall. I heard the heavy thud of his footsteps. Mr. Sterling, Nathaniel said, his voice pitching up into a tone of manufactured worry. We have a problem. A big one. What now? Donald snapped. The IRS. They flagged Clara's accounts this morning. An audit freeze. They have locked down everything. The bank accounts, the deeds, and the life insurance policy. What? Donald's voice spiked. They cannot do that. That policy is worth $2.5 million. That is the family's money. It is frozen, Nathaniel lied smoothly. If she dies while the audit is active, the government holds the funds in escrow for 2 years. Maybe 3. I heard the silence. The terrified silence of a man imagining his own funeral at the hands of a lone shark. 2 years. Donald choked out. I do not have 2 years. There is one loophole, Nathaniel said slowly, dangling the bait. It is risky, but it is fast. If a legal guardian steps in and signs an affidavit of assumption, they basically tell the IRS, I will take responsibility for resolving this audit. It lifts the freeze immediately. The insurance pays out within 24 hours. I will sign it, Donald said instantly. Where is it? Mr. Sterling, you need to understand, Nathaniel warned, playing his part perfectly. You would be assuming liability for the estate's standing. It is a formality mostly, but legal requires me to say it. I do not care about the formality, Donald hissed. I care about the $2.5 million sitting in limbo. Draw up the papers. I want that money unlocked today. I can have it ready in an hour, Nathaniel said. I will bring it to the room. I lay in the bed listening to the sound of my father swallowing the hook. He did not ask how much the liability was. He did not ask to see the audit papers. He heard $2.5 million and 24 hours, and his greed did the rest. He walked back into the room a moment later. He looked energized. Manic almost. He came to the side of the bed and patted my hand. Do not worry, Clara, he whispered, a smile playing on his lips. Daddy is going to fix everything. I stared blankly at the ceiling. Yes, Dad, I thought. You certainly are. Chaos is a thief's best friend, and my father had always been an opportunist. Just as Nathaniel was laying out the paperwork on the bedside table, an alarm began to shriek from the hallway. Code blue. Room 304. The floor erupted into organized panic. I heard the thud of running shoes, the clatter of a crash cart being wheeled at full speed, and the shouting of orders. I need to check on that, Dr. Evans stammered, looking torn. Go, Nathaniel said, waving him off. We are just signing papers. Dr. Evans ran out. Nathaniel turned to his briefcase to retrieve a pen. That was the moment. Through my slitted eyelids I saw Donald move. He did not look at me. He looked at the open door. The crash cart for room 304 had been abandoned momentarily just outside my room as nurses cleared the doorway. He stepped out. 2 seconds later he stepped back in. He slid his hand into his jacket pocket. It was a smooth motion, practiced, but his hands were shaking. He had swiped a vial and a syringe. I knew exactly what was on those carts. Potassium chloride. It stops the heart instantly. Looks like a cardiac arrest. It leaves no trace if you do not know to look for it. He sat down, wiping sweat from his upper lip. His phone buzzed on the metal tray table. The screen lit up, close enough for me to read the notification through my lashes. Unknown sender. 45 minutes. Or we take your knees. He stared at the message. The color drained from his face, leaving it gray and clammy. He was not just greedy anymore, he was a cornered animal. Here is the affidavit, Nathaniel said, placing the document in front of him. Sign here and initial the liability clause at the bottom. Once this is filed, you are the legal guarantor of the estate. The freeze lifts. The funds are yours to manage. Donald barely glanced at the paperwork. His eyes locked onto the bold number at the top, $2,500,000, and he signed. Scratch, scratch, scratch. The sound of a man sealing his own financial execution. I remembered being 18, discovering my savings gone after he forged my name for an investment. Family money, he'd said. Now he was inheriting that family debt. Done, he snapped, pushing the papers to Nathaniel. The door shut. Silence settled. Donald locked it. I realized then he did not just want the payout. He needed it now. He pulled out a syringe. You should have stayed out of this, Clara, he whispered, approaching my fore. Do one last favor for your dad. He thought I was helpless. He was wrong. I snapped my eyes open. He froze. Slowly, I lifted my hand, revealing the red emergency call button hidden in my palm, and slammed my thumb down. Beep, beep, beep. The door burst open. Nathaniel entered with a man holding a tablet. Step away from the patient, Nathaniel said. Donald spun. She woke up. I was helping. Helping her with potassium chloride? The man asked, turning the screen toward him. Live footage. The syringe. The whisper. You're on the cloud, the investigator said. You can't erase this. Donald dropped the needle. Police stormed in moments later. He collapsed instantly. It wasn't me. Rebecca told me. She's in the car. Cuffs snapped shut. Nathaniel leaned toward me. It's over. I closed my eyes, this time in peace. 2 weeks later, I faced him through prison glass. He looked ruined. Get the insurance, he begged. I control the estate. You didn't read it, I said. What? You signed liability, not ownership. I explained the shell companies, the liens, the $3 million trap. Nathaniel was liquidating everything he had. You have nothing, I finished. And Rebecca? Arrested. She blamed you first. He slammed the glass. I'm your father. I paid you with 32 years of silence. The accounts closed. I hung up. His assets paid for my surgery. The rest went to victims of financial abuse. 6 months later, I opened Sterling Forensic Accounting, helping people uncover the money their abusers hide. Freedom costs something. It's worth every cent. That night, I deleted his number. The ledger was finally balanced. If you've ever had to outsmart a monster to survive, share this story. Someone may need it.